I think
explicitly in terms of what this change is going to be. I don't know if anyone really understands what the change is going to be. I'm not saying I'm against this. I think we just delay it.
I think that what's missing here is only one thing. I mean, there certainly was a notice of public hearing in the paper.
That's all that's required.
That's all that's required.
They were noted.
That's all
But-
that's required.
And our police department doesn't have a
Haven't
problem
in
with
the
it.
past we notified abutters?
Only where there's a new license at a location. This is an existing license, and under the ABCC rules, you do not need to provide notification to abutters.
I don't see that.
Voluntarily, they may want to, but there's no legal requirement for it.
No legal requirement.
Correct.
But I'm just wondering if that, to me, that's really the only thing that, there's nobody here that might have attending today that I'm aware of, that, might have a concern over it, that would at least express it.
But it was in the
to us.
newspaper, right?
I think some of the
It wasn't
people
in-
who
It
are
was,
concerned
yes, sir.
about plowing the sidewalks would be concerned with the expansion of the, potential expansion of this operation down there too. My guess is that if there were, and not that you didn't do your due diligence, do what you're supposed to do.
No,
but
the
I
problem's
think-
on our end, not their end.
Well,
But I don't think it is.
No, we
on
don't
our-
notify abutters. We provide them with an assessor's
I
list.
think we should have given a better explanation as to what the change in license was
I
going
thought
to
we
be.
had that last week. I mean, I'm not surprised by this at all.
No, I'm not either. These guys are trying to run a business. They're trying to stay afloat. Why should we hold them up? If
It's 2 weeks. Our next meeting, I'm just saying postpone until our next
I
meeting.
disagree, but, the majority has to rule here. I'm more concerned, as long as we have, I didn't get the chance to see the police input, and I see it, they don't have a problem with it. They don't have any histories of violations. They've been serving liquor in this location for many years, so it's like the abutters must be aware of that. And now, all we're talking about is changing it so they can allow the public to enjoy their facilities, which I enjoy there very much. I've been there as a guest, and it's a great place, and I don't see why we want to hold this up. These people are trying to make a living. I don't think we have that right to hold it up over 2 weeks because we didn't think of this. You know what, the next one that goes out, we want to have a discussion, then we should have a discussion, but I think we're way down the road. We're too far down the road. Let's not hold this up. Let's not hurt this
Not down
business.
the road.
Yeah.
I
It's been in the
respectfully, I
paper.
respectfully disagree.
Craig did what he had to do. They did what they had to do.
But, at times, I think it's necessary for whether it be us or the applicants, or ask the applicants, which we didn't do with this particular application right now. But I think it's incumbent upon us to ensure that the general public is more than adequately notified in this particular instance, in the specific instance. I mean, you have a neighborhoods directly abutting it, just east of it, and then you've got the people right and directly across the street.
Can I ask what your suggestion you do then? Are you going to call them on the phone? What are you going to do that we haven't done already?
Well, I think just if we continue the hearing for a couple of weeks, my guess is there'll be additional coverage in the transcript at a minimum, so that adequate notification, that in and of itself will provide
Was
some
already in the
additional-
transcript.
In the form of a small ad. How many ads do you read? You read all the ads in the transcript?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not saying I even read the transcript, but,
Uh,
well, I'm not
I've been
saying I
forced
do,
to, but I don't
I'm not
read all
saying
the
I
ads.
don't. I mean,
No. But, and the other thing is that before I go and hand out another all-alcohol beverage license, I want to know how many we have available,
I asked that already.
and whether or not,
Greg
do
provided
we-
that question the last time we had this discussion. He did give us that information.
What was the answer?
I don't have it with me today.
No, and he doesn't have it
I
that
thought
night.
you
He did
said
come.
that we had 4 additional licenses.
Thank you.
I don't recall, yeah.
It was 4. That was the number. But
Um,
he obviously doesn't have with him to confirm what I believe he already provided us. I just don't understand. If you're relying on another ad going in the paper, and so you're talking like a half-page ad, are we going to pay for it, or what are we doing? I mean, I don't think you can obligate the patch, or you can obligate the transcript to do something. I mean, it's at their free will to do that. I don't think you can direct them to do that.
I would think that this is newsworthy.
Mike's doing the talking.
I think the subject matter is probably newsworthy. And I don't think,
I'm not
I don't
gonna
think,
vote.
I don't think 2 weeks is to make a determination. And
Because
again,
you're not the one trying to make a living on this business.
and
They
2
are.
weeks isn't gonna make or break the
Well,
deal here. I
You
mean,
don't
they've been
know. You
working
don't
with
know
this
what
for
they
a
have.
number.
They followed the
I
process.
have a
This is the
pretty good
problem I
idea.
have. We put out these policies and procedures, they follow them, and
Then
now
I'll
here we
vote
are
no.
telling them.
If that's the case, I'll vote no, if you wanna force a vote on it this evening. I'm
Then
saying
vote
let's have
no.
a continuation on a public hearing.
It's
just to
unfair
take
that we
one-
hold the patrons responsible because we don't have our processes in
And
place.
the other thing is I'd like a little bit more concrete input from the police department in relation to the expansion of the business here. I don't necessarily,
The chief's here. I hate to put him on the
I-
spot,
I
but
know
you know,
that, and,
let's not waste the
you know,
time.
so it's,
I mean, he's got half his department here. I'm sure these guys are well educated with this
but,
facility and
you know,
location.
I think, I
what
think
goes
it
on.
deserves a little bit more, input. So,
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair,
Mr. Yule.
you know, I tend to fall in line with the thinking of Mr. Prisco. They did follow due process. It was put in the newspaper. Everyone that could be advised legally were. The departments that were supposed to review this did review it. I'm sure that if the police department had a question on it, they would have raised that question. They've been known to do that in the past. And so have the other departments. So they followed due process. It's not like it's a very close area or a very dangerous corner or the environment is of great concern. They're set back. They're pretty much, they have significant amount of parking to accomplish this, and they are trying to run a business. So they've done everything we've asked them to do. They've done everything that the law requires them to do. They've even checked to make sure if what the process was going to the ABCC. So they've done everything that they should. I can't see why we would interfere with the process at this point.
I don't, just briefly, if he's done.
Finish.
No, I'm finished, no, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
Mr. Delaney.
Once again, I don't fault Thompson Club or two representatives here. Unfortunately, I think the onus is on us, and we failed. But I think we owe that community, that segment of the community down there, to be very explicit in terms of what this change may entail down there. I think the residents deserve that. I think it's incumbent upon us in this town to give greater notification. 2 weeks, I don't think it's a big deal in terms of delaying the process. It'd satisfy me if we got the proper notice out, what I think to be the proper notice out, and give those folks that live in that area an opportunity to come if they have, whether they're for or they're against, give them an opportunity to be here. Because I don't think reading what I read before me, anyone could really understand what the change may be if we allow this.
What does that mean, proper notice? I just need to understand what steps.
I would say something that expands on the notice that went out and explains that this, if allowed, this change in this license, the general public will be allowed to go and
Who does
Yeah,
it? No,
drink-
who does it, though? I'm just curious.
How many people know that the license would allow them to operate from 8 AM to 1 AM?
Again, I'm asking the question, who does what Mr.
Their
Delaney's
license,
asking
their
us to
current
do?
license, Steve, already does that. They're already
But they're
doing
limited to
it.
their membership,
They are
generally,
doing it.
and then special events that they
Right.
sponsor.
I mean,
right.
I think we'd be,
Yeah.
the other night we passed a license without even thinking
Right.
about it.
It-
You know,
I-
I don't get it, okay? It looks like we're 3-2.
I'd say we take the
Let's
vote.
move forward with a motion.
But I would take a note of what Mr. Delaney's saying, that for future, we do document it and have a better process. I don't disagree with you. But at this point, this one's gone down through the process we have in place, and, go on. I'm
I
sorry.
have to comment, because we don't develop the process. It's not our process. The ABCC is a very highly regulated state agency.
I know.
They tell us, as the licensing authority, exactly what format these processes
I
take.
know.
So we don't decide arbitrarily, these guys don't have to notify abutters. We follow the ABCC rules.
I understand.
We give them a copy of the rules. That's the same rules that we operate under. It doesn't make any difference whether it's a Thompson Club coming in here or Joe's Diner who has an existing license. It's the same rule for everyone. So we don't do anything different. And we haven't done anything different in this case than normally what we would do in terms of the requirements. Now, in terms of the legal notice, if there's something that we'd like to reword differently, we absolutely will do so going forward in the future, including ours. But the notice that appeared in the paper is no different than the notice we would have posted in the paper over the past 20 years.
Right, but it's usually with an existing establishment with the existing license or a new license, and then the abutters would be notified about what is going to take place in that location. That's the distinction. So, but let's take a vote.
This is a change, and again, I would suggest, again, I don't think 2 weeks is going to make a significant difference to the Thompson Club, to continue the public hearing for 2 weeks.
Mr. Leary, I would kind of disagree with you there, only because if we are going to go public with an open restaurant, we have a lot of hiring to do, we have to do all new menus, and all that time, another 2 weeks, just pushes us out further and further. And we're trying to get it over because of the financial situation we're in, so I understand your point. I guess the only comment I would have is, what would you have us done differently than what we did,
I
that's all.
probably would have, had you do a mailing to the, Gillis Drive
Again, though,
and across the street and.
Which, when you say
You would have
across the
to
street,
call
you
it-
mean the Greens, the
No,
condos?
not the Greens, what's the other street there? Judith, Green
Down
Meadow.
on the left-hand side?
Green Meadow, Judith, Gillis, and then some of the direct abutters 300 feet up on Route 62, which is generally what would be required. If you came in for a new license, that's what you would have been required to do. This is a change in operation. This would provide you with the opportunity to substantially, which is what you're hoping to do, substantially increase the amount of activity in that particular location, and potentially expand the hours of operation. And to me, it's a substantial change, could be potentially a substantial change to the impact of the neighborhood. And, while you met the letter of the law, again, I don't think postponing it for 2 weeks, continuing the public hearing for 2 weeks and postponing the vote to that particular time is going to do anything other than provide additional notification to the residents of the town, particularly in that area, to weigh in. And again, I don't see anybody here, and I think if they were adequately notified, and again,
Mr.
we would have
Chair?
had some people here, maybe even in favor, but we don't have anybody here, so. And I think, I would like to support it, but if I'm forced to vote this evening, I will vote no. So, it's whatever the majority wishes to do. So I would make a motion that we continue the public hearing to 2 weeks, which is March to 7:30,
21.
March 21st, 2011.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Delaney.
On the motion?
On the motion,
Again, I would appeal to the members of the board for the sake of public information and adequate notification that you vote favorably on this particular motion. And at that particular time, you can vote in favor of the motion if you wish.
all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion fails. I'll
Mr. Chair?
entertain another motion.
If I may. The request that Steve is making, that's just a request we can ask.
What's that?
The request that you're making as far as the mailings are concerned, that's only something that can be asked. We
Right.
cannot mandate that.
Right.
Correct? And if that were the case and we did that and for some other reason this was, had to go through the ABCC, it would be my thinking that the ABCC would rule against us because we're making them do something well and be able to
And
be
again,
on.
I'm not necessarily looking for them to comply with that. My guess is that there will be adequate coverage in the newspaper and in Patch to give better notification to the neighborhood down there if they want to come in and weigh in. I would not necessarily expect them to do the mailing. I think there's been enough discussion this evening that would generate enough of an interest on the part of the editor over here to put something in the paper which would give some additional notification to the people in that neighborhood. And I don't see any harm in this board providing that opportunity to those people to come in and weigh in. We just voted not to do that, which is somewhat disappointing. As much as I feel for the Thompson Club, and again, they do a fine job, they run a great operation, I understand the fiscal constraints that they're dealing with. But by the same token, this could have a significant impact on that neighborhood. And for 2 weeks, you're not willing to allow us to have the input, if someone else wants to weigh in.
Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Chairman, I move to change the license for the Thompson Club, 20 Elm Street, from the club license to a common vicular and all alcohol license.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, do I hear a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Yule. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Unfortunately.
Motion
Right.
carries 3-2.